Hello everybody, I'm Steve and welcome to Green Side Up, the home edition again. I'm back in the greenhouse today because I've got a lot of potting on to do, a lot of seed sowing to do and some stuff ready to move on to go to the allotments hopefully tomorrow. So we'll get into it straight away, and the first things I'm going to get on with is I've got a little tray here with some lettuce leaves. I've got plenty more to pot on over there as well. This is lettuce Navarra. And I've got Cabbage Primo I'm going to pot on, and these cut-in celery will stay as they are for now, let them get a bit bigger. So I'm just going to dibble some holes in a few of these trays. These are 60 cell seed trays. These are actually the new Charles Dowding ones. Hopefully everyone can get hold of these. I did do a little video, I'll put a link up there about my review on these, because I think these are blinking marvellous, I really do. I say 60 cells in a tray, and it's brilliant, especially for this time of the year for me, when I'm getting a lot of plants going. Now this is sieved compost, and some people say, why do you bother sieving? Well, that's why I bother sieving. You can see that the roots are tiny on that plant, but the plant comes out, and as long as you hold it by the seed leaf, it's good to go. And as long as it's got a bit of root on it, you can pot it on. There's a lot of conjecture about potting plants on, about how they need the first true leaves, or you must wait till they're a bit bigger, and you mustn't do this because of root disturbance. Well, I've done all that in the past, but to be honest with you, I don't bother anymore. I just put plants on when I'm ready to do it, and in general it works. There are some plants it's best not to disturb, but I do all my sowings like this, really. If it doesn't work, it wasn't meant to be. But I can't remember the last time I had a fail with plants just because I disturbed the roots, so I just get on with it. And if the plants are even smaller than this, they'll still pot on, as long as they've got a little bit of root. I mean, it's the tiniest. Let's see if we can knock some. There we go. Knock the rest of the compost off. Tiniest bit of root on there. No more than ½ centimetre long, but that should grow on. As long as it's got soil around it and a bit of moisture, it'll be fine. And I heard that one break. So this is just a first sowing of lettuce. And I'll do multiple sowings throughout the year. I have got some more behind me, some more lettuce behind me there to sow on for different varieties. But for this first sowing, I just want a dozen or so plants. I could pot the rest of those, all those here are lettuce. I could pot the rest of them on, but I'm not going to. I just want this dozen plants. And I'm looking to plant half a dozen, 8 of them. I don't need that many. But I am fairly ham-fisted when I'm sowing seeds, I'm afraid. They all just get chucked in. This one doesn't want to stand up. So that's it for the lettuce. I'll do the same now with the cabbage in the next 12 trays. Again, it's the same thing. It's the first cabbage variety of the year for me this year, and I'll just do a dozen plants. Again, I only want 3 or 4 really at the end of the day. I'll plant out 5 or 6 and I'll take the better ones home. The rest will get composted, because it's cheap enough to grow the seedlings, cheap enough to grow the plants on, and you just plant out what you need, give the rest away or compost them. It really doesn't matter. But that's lettuce Navarra. So make sure you label everything. There we go, that's them done. So that's the Cabbage Primo potted on. So all these plants now are all destined for the compost heap, but in here, I hope you can see these are the cut-in celery. So I'm going to give these a water, let them carry on growing for a bit, and I'll put them on probably in a few days time, I would say, and get them going. And I'll gradually fill this tray up with different size plants, different types of plants, and then they will all get potted on into various containers, modules or whatever from there. These are just somewhere for them to sit for just now. Let them grow on in a bit more compost of their own. Right, I'm just sorting out my next seed tray. I've got a whole bunch of flower seeds. These are all cut flower seeds that I want to get going. So I thought I'd show you what I do here. And this is sieved compost. Again, I use sieved compost for seedlings, sowing seeds, because the seedlings are so much easier to get out of a sieved compost. If it's got little bits in it, or little bits of stick like this, the roots can wrap themselves around it, and when you pull that against the compost, you'll break the roots. So I take as much of that out as I can. I'm not too prissy about it, and I only use the most coarse sieve. It's just to get the bigger lumps out. But anyway, what I do then with this, tamp it down roughly, and this is an old piece of glass that's actually broke off the corner of a pane just above the camera there, and any old bit of wood or bit of stick or something will do. And I'm just making little furrows across there for sowing the seeds into, and I just want them really about 1 inch apart, because the idea is I'm going to grow the seeds in here, and near enough the moment they're up. I mean, you saw the size of my lettuce and the cabbage earlier. Once they're 1 inch or so tall, I'm starting to think about potting them on, moving them on into a module where they'll have fresh compost to grow into and their own space. So they're not going to get tangled up with their brothers in this tray, with their brothers and sisters. And they can grow on happily, and you always want to be encouraging your plants to grow on a little bit. So they'll go into small modules first, and then maybe into bigger modules, and then into pots, and then eventually into the ground. So you keep your plants moving that way. If you keep your plants moving, they've always got fresh compost to go at. They've always got compost with water in, so they've always got everything they need. Now all I do from here, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 furrows in there for sowing seeds. I'm not going to sow 10 varieties. What I'll do is this. So immediately I can sow 20 varieties, or I can do that and have 30 varieties. It all depends on how many seeds I want to sow. Now I'm only growing cut flowers for you know, for the use in the vase at home. I'm not selling them. I don't need huge amounts. But you can see there that straight away, just for starting seeds off, you can have 20, 30, 40 different varieties of seed all in one tray if you want to. And there could be enough plants in there. There could be 7 or 8 plants. And that can give you a few vases of flowers, mix them with all the rest, and you've got vases of flowers for the summer long. So this is how I do it. And I just thought I'd show you that. I won't show you the actual sowing. I'll bring you back at the end and show you the tray sown and labelled. So I've got a couple of varieties of lettuce potted on over here, and a cabbage, and I've sown some flowers in this one. I'll put all the varieties and names up in the description, just so those who can fill, those who want to can follow along and know what I've sown. And with these seeds now, it's just a case of covering them up and watering them. Now there's a mix of seeds in here, and some of them will need heat to germinate, others won't. Now what I'll do is I'll just leave them on the propagator for a few days. As soon as I see signs of life, germination from one or more varieties, they'll come off the heat and just go back on the bench where they are now, and that will do it. And that way I should cover all bases really. I'll just get a new waterer, give these a bit of a wetting, And I'll just keep my eye on the wetting for a couple of days. I don't want them soaked because I am putting seeds in here which don't need heat to germinate, such as the cornflowers, for instance. There's a good selection of cornflowers. They don't really need heat in there, so I don't want them sat in soaking wet water, you know, in a pond for a couple of days. But I want them wet enough so that the seeds that do need the heat germinate. That will do it now for a day or two, and the others have been watered and we'll get them stuck away. So those trays have gone back on the heat just to recover for a day or two, and then we'll have another sort out in here and move plants on as necessary. So that's it for today. Look after yourselves, everyone. Stay safe, and I'll see you very, very, very soon.